I always use skins when I play. I know Lemon doesn't use any at all.
I don't use skins.
Half the time, people are just hipsters and just want to use a different skin.
I didn't want to play any champions until I bought a skin for them. I like my champion looking good.
Best skin in the game. Give me 1 minute for this one.
The Bruce Lee Sin skin.
Bloodlord Vladimir. And his laugh is just too fun.
Cottontail Teemo is the best skin in the game. Everybody just wants to chase that cute bunny down.
The new Udyr skin is really, really sick. I can't wait to I'm probably going to play Udyr just because of that skin.
The Vygar Christmas one, where he recalls and like a chimney pops up. All I do in solo queue is just like spam that and the chimney keeps popping up.
Striker Ezreal, the World Cup one. I love soccer, and Ezreal's a beast.
I'm not really a skin person.
The Dragon Trainer Lulu. I'm not the most hilarious person, but when I watch that, I'm just like, you know, that's what skins are for.
Welcome back to week 5 of the NA LCS Summer Split. We're just minutes away from our next match, Dignitas versus Coast. But first, I'd like to welcome Cursus St. Vicious to the desk. First of all, congratulations on the win. Talk me through Lee Sin. We were talking about your early game and your late game. How did it go?
I think it was the worst Lee Sin game I've ever had in my life. I had like a somehow negative hit rate with my Q. I was like missing more than I was throwing. But I mean, we pulled it together and we ended up winning, so thank God. I think it's because CLG's team comp was a little rough.
Yeah, so what made you guys give up so many globals to CLG? You talked about before where like you knew they were going to split push and you wanted to go catch people out. What really went into your guys' team discussion at the beginning of the game after you saw they had Shen and Pantheon?
I mean, we knew they were going to do some like cheesy Pantheon Shen ults. Like we were so scared on bottom, or once we knew they hit 6, we're like, damn, we can't do anything. And I mean, there's a lot more kills I could have picked up early if I hit my Qs, and it could have taken some pressure off. But I think because they like to split push, that's kind of one of their weaknesses. And you just have to, the moment they like you see them splitting because they get in that mindset, you just got to go on them instantly and just pick somebody off.
Why did it take so long for that to actually happen? Like it took 30 plus minutes before you guys could find a right.
We damage caught it like Pantheon, and some of our AoE damage hit it. So it just went down like too low, and we went into Smite battle and ended up getting it. But we actually cleaned up pretty okay off of that. We managed to kill some people at Baron and then hold out. And we had, of course, the top engage after that, where I think they were getting a little cocky because they had Baron. And we sent down Cop, and we thought that he could handle the Shen. And he's like, oh, I got this. Like, oh, God, I don't got this. And he's like dying.
He got some revenge a little bit later, though, to be fair. It initially started pretty badly. So you guys are playing another game later today. Of the games that you're playing today, how did you prepare for them differently, if at all?
It was mainly a team thing. I feel like if we're in the zone, we're all together, and we're playing the right way, then we can beat anybody. But I don't really care about the other team. All I care about is us.
So let's actually talk about that Cop on Draven. We've been seeing him playing those more aggressive ADs more simply because you have Edward now. When you're faced with like the Shen and the Pantheon, how does that completely change your bottom lane mentality?
I mean, it didn't change it much. Cop like flashed into 4 people in middle. He's like, I'm killing Caitlyn. I don't care. Like, oh God, Cop.
So has he made this change already, and he is now one of the aggressive AD carries in the league, and he's completely just left that MF behind, like we saw him mousing over there?
Sometimes he plays kind of passive, but then when he goes hard, he goes like way too hard sometimes. Like he'll go so hard. You're like, God, no, Cop, no.
So you've created a monster,
yeah,
basically.
pretty much.
Well, hopefully you can control the monster. Congratulations on your win. And of course, it's time for our second match of the day. Team Dignitas versus Team Coast. Both teams won their respective games yesterday, and while Team Coast rallied behind Nintendo's Jarvan, the frontman from Dignitas, Skara, led his team to a stylish victory with his OP haircut.
Dignitas played one of their best games of the summer. They looked like the Dignitas from the spring split, where they pushed every single lane and were in control the whole game.
Similarly, Team Coast was in control of their game from level 1 as they decimated Curse.
Zion Spartan just dominated as Riven once again. So far this summer, he's been a perfect 5 of 5 on Riven.
So today, Zion Spartan and Coast will look to repeat yesterday's performance against Dignitas. These two teams have played twice this summer already and split the games with 1 win apiece.
Back in week 1, Team Coast won their first matchup behind Nintendo's tank jungle Fiddlesticks, even though Dignitas ended up with more kills in that game. Then, in their Week 2 rematch, Dignitas twisted it up and put Kiwi Kid on TF in mid and Skara on Zed up in the top lane, where Skara put a hurtin' on Team Coast captain Zion Spartan and led Dignitas to the victory.
So even though Skara and Team Dignitas cut them down to size the last time they met, Don't Mash Me and Team Coast are confident they can turn some successful scrims into another LCS win.
Recently, when we scrimmed Dignitas, we destroyed them. Like, recently, we just destroyed them. And we had, like, a 10-minute win in a scrim. But that's obviously a scrim. But I think everybody on the team's confident against Dignitas.
All right, scrims are over, and it's time for the real deal. So let's check out the lineups. On the blue side, it is Team Dignitas. Top lane, Kiwi Kid, jungle Crumbs, mid Skara, ADC, I'm a Cutie Pie, and support Patoy.
And on the red side, it's Team Coast. As you can hear in the background, it's Zion Spartan up top, Nintendo'd in the jungle, Shifter at mid, Don't Mash Me on AD, and supporting is Daydreamin'.
It's quite a scary ritual that they've got going at the beginning of every game. Really just get themselves pumped up and psyched up and ready to go.
Elements is definitely one of the most vocal coaches that we have in the LCS, and you can definitely see it take effect.
So we are just waiting for the players to jump into the lobby. Both of these teams, as we said, they won a game yesterday. They're looking to repeat the process today. What's something we need to keep an eye out for, other than, of course, Diana being banned for Skara?
I'm always looking at what lane Shifter's in, because he is such a strong playmaker for Team Coast, especially if he gets something like Lissandra, where he can start plays very early, and he can roam around from that mid lane very effectively. So it's going to be up to Dignitas to keep track of Shifter and where he's moving.
We'll see how well they do that. One of the things I'll also have to keep in mind is giving him a handle in Nintendo X's jungle. He's, was very impactful yesterday. He did that Doran's Blade start with Jarvan, like we said already, and he's very strong in the early game.
Yeah, I like that sort of stingy start where you don't spend any money on consumables, you just go with the blade, and immediately after your second buff, just go back to base, because they knew that he was going to immediately go help out Zion and just stand there in that 1v2 lane to even it up and keep the laning phase going for a little bit longer. So they didn't want to waste any money on unnecessary consumables.
Yeah, so it's a good, strategy if you understand the constraints of your team composition and how your team wants to play it. We'll see if they've got anything special planned right now. Dignitas are going to be on the blue side, so the pressure's a little bit more on Team Coast being on red, that second ban, last ban, to maybe get rid of the Jaces, the Elises of the world, etc.
Probably see a Nunu ban here. Crumbs definitely is a fan of the Nunu. We saw yesterday, Meteos first picked that Nunu for Cloud9, even though he hates the champion, just because he was so scared of playing against it. Crumbs, meanwhile, he loves the champion, so he won't hesitate. If they leave that Nunu open for blue side, pretty sure Dignitas will lock that one in.
So we are into picks and bans. Dignitas once again on the blue side with Coast on the red side. Letting the time tick down. We're just going to see what their first ban is. It looks like the timer is over on Team Coast, so we should hopefully get this first ban in shortly.
I will be interested to see if anybody actually continues to ban Master Yi, because even though Dignitas haven't used it more recently, it's still definitely one of Skara's favorite champions, and he will go after that Master Yi again. He said there's not a matchup in the game that he doesn't like with Master Yi.
In terms of dealing with the Master Yi, if that is locked in, how do you counter it? I mean, what is
jungle. It's all on your jungle pressure. So if Dignitas could actually force the jungle pressure to go to a side lane by the 2v1 switch, then that would free up the mid lane and relieve pressure from Skara. So I think that is a strategy that Dignitas have to use with the Master Yi pick. They can't just pick Master Yi and expect Skara to go legendary with it. They have to actually help him in the early game and draw the jungler somewhere else so that he's free to farm up.
All right, so at this moment in time, we are just waiting for the game lobby to be recreated. Unfortunately, as I'm sure you noticed, there was a minor hitch there with the picks and bans, so you can rejoin the lobby. It is up. The players are slowly filtering their way into it. This is, of course, the second game of the day, ladies and gentlemen. There will be 4 more coming following this matchup. And if they're half as good as yesterday, we're in for a good day.
Yes, I think today is going to be definitely at least as good as yesterday. This match in particularly is pretty exciting. I'm definitely wondering about that Master U pick as we haven't seen Scar pull it out in a while. And sporting the new haircut, he is so much more aerodynamic now.
So it helps with the alpha strikes. It helps with the alpha strikes. Well, we do see, though, a ribbon band targeted at Zion Spartan. I don't think anybody's surprised by that.
Yeah, I mean, he's won every game. He's gotten ribbon. So
don't give him ribbon.
Target ban right there. And I love when we have target bans instead of these generic bans where people just ban out the top strong champions, really, like Cloud9 like to do. You know, they repeatedly go back to these champions that they just think are just strong in the meta. And it's more interesting when we get to see these ones that are obviously pointed at a specific person.
So we're going to follow through the bans really quickly. Crumbs is not going to get hold of his Nunu. We see Twisted Fate and Zed taken out, so Kid's not going to get his hands on the Card Master. On the other side, taking away that Evelyn as well as that Jace, but it leaves Java in the 4th open if Nintendo wants to go that route.
So they can save their jungle pick because they've already got this Elise. And Elise is one of Crumb's favorite jungle champions right now too, right behind that Nunu, because of her early playmaking abilities. He loves to get his lanes going and snowball them. He loves to be able to counter gank. And Elise, as soon as she does hit level 3, which for junglers now is basically right at the start of the game after you get both your double buffs, she has so many options and she can react to anything that Coast come out with very quickly.
And it's something that you keep highlighting, the fact she's got all of her abilities available.
It's so fun when you have so many tools available for you. You have executes, you also have a range stun and a gap closer. And Crumbs is definitely of the same mind there. It's a very popular jungle right now.
Dignitas are taking their time on these next 2 picks, and maybe they weren't expecting the Shen Draven, or, you know, they want to see if they want to rotate some of what they had planned.
And it looks like they're going to go with the level 6 burst combo that is very exciting to watch, and you have to be aware of as soon as you're in that lane, whether it's a 2 vs 2 or a 1 vs 1. The combo of Graves and Sona at level 6, if she gets her power cord ready, is just explosive. You can burst pretty much any champion from 100% to 0 if you're able to land the crescendo and chain all of the abilities.
And luckily, because it's area of effect, the collateral damage around there is pretty scary too. Over on the other side for Team Coast, they have locked in that Jarvan, so Nintendo going to one of his most played champions, 5 times played this split already with 3 victories, and we will be seeing Daydreaming on that Thresh. So the only thing they're leaving for selection is their mid laner, and I guess that's to counter whatever Scar decides to lock in now for his team.
Yeah, I like that play there by Coast, leaving it up to Shifter. They usually say that Shifter, when we interviewed him, he fills in for Coast whatever they need at the time. You know, if they are lacking on damage, he'll go full damage and build all that. If they need more crowd control or CC, then he'll go this way. Right now, it's looking like they are going to need that AP damage. They need some sort of strong mage for him to be on. And that mage is going to have to go up against either a Ryze or a Kennen. So that really does limit your options.
And they go very quickly, they lock in that Orianna. So we've got the full compositions here for Dignitas. It is going to be that double AP Kennen Ryze combo with Sona Graves in the bottom lane and Elise in the jungle. A massive amount of ability power damage. Over on Coast, there's a lot of shields there.
There are a ton of shields there, but the single target shields. So it's, I mean, the Lantern is going to give a shield to everybody, but besides that, it's the AoE damage coming out from Dignitas that's going to be really scary, because they have not only the crazy level 6 burst combo from their bottom lane, but when you bring that to a team fight with Kennen on top of it, then they will just be able to decimate anyone in a small area. So they'll have to be very worried about fighting in the corridors of the jungle. Coast are definitely not going to want to get caught out in the jungle.
So we'll see just how well Coast can fight and if they can keep themselves in the open spaces on Summoner's Rift. The loading screen is up and we'll be underway with Game 2 very, very shortly. Very different compositions that we're seeing from both of these teams and a lot of focus on the sides of both of them. They don't want to give up their first loss of the weekend.
Yeah, nobody wants to lose, because that's when all those smiles turn to frowns, and we hear a lot of yelling going on in the background. Everybody starts playing the blame game. Everybody right now, though, is pretty happy. Going in Champion Select, they got the champions they want. Dignitas, this is classic Dignitas. They've been loving this particular double AB composition, while Coast, they won their game last time when Zion was on Shen, even though it's not a typical Zion Spartan carry full offensive champion, he cared very well with that Shen and protected his teammates.
So we are in game right now. We'll see whether or not Zion Spartan can save his teammates and secure another victory for Team Coast, or if Skara's OP haircut will help him out. I called it reverse Super Saiyan yesterday. Cut the hair down. We'll see if we're going to have any low-level aggression. We've been talking about how all of the teams in the NA LCS have basically been getting deep wards down and then basically backing off.
Everybody's just having a very fun time with the invades now because of the freedom that they've been allowed in this 3.8 patch. Some pings coming out from both sides, and Dignitas are going very defensive, whereas Coast are sticking together, and they are looking for the early pick.
If a good death sentence lands, you have to feel that the possibility is there. Volatile Spiderling goes up from Crumbs. Going to give them a little bit of vision so he's aware of the positions.
And an interesting little trick that Crumbs just pulled and actually saved them a ward was going into spider form right next to a ledge means that when your little baby spider spawns, it will walk all the way around that ridge, and he landed it right inside the bush, and you get vision of that bush basically for free.
So little baby Spiderling is helping them get vision of their opponents. Another volatile Spiderling from Crumbs as he leashed just to get vision in the bushes. As now Coast, they stay stacked up. What we do see from Dignitas is some very deep wards on the red buff area, so they're going to be well aware of Nintendo's jungle times and clear paths because they can see the whole side of the jungle.
Yeah, they've even got the bush up by double golems warded here with the early ward that's going to run out in another 20 seconds. But they did get 2 3-minute wards down in the red jungle where Nintendo is starting. And it's probably not going to be a counter jungling maneuver from Crumbs here because he is starting his own raid as well. And it will pretty much just be a mirror situation here for both junglers.
So Dignitas, they're going to start off helping out this bottom lane. As you've said, does appear that we're going to have these straight up 2v2 matchups. So Draven and Thresh coming up against Graves and Sona in that bottom lane. No lane swaps in this matchup.
I love this 2 versus 2 matchup because in the early game, Coast should have the upper hand. If they're able to land a nice death sentence, then the Thresh Draven lane is one of the most aggressive early duo lanes here. But as soon as Dignitas hit level 6, they are going to have that combo threat that we talked about in Champion Select.
So we'll see whether or not Don't Match Me and Daydreaming can actually burst down their opponents early enough, because like you said, once they hit that 6 threshold, the burst power swings in favor of Dignitas. Both junglers picking up their respective blue buffs in the mid lane. Skara forced to flash away. Shipta used his flash and ignite as well. They trade summoner spells, but Skara crucially has his ignite available.
But having the ignite mastery means that you also get 5 AP and 5 AD. So burning them early like that actually gives you a little tip in the laning phase, and Crumbs all ready to looking to make use of that Elise kit in the mid lane here, knowing that Shifter's flashes down. And
at the same time, in the bottom lane, Nintendo's managed to sneak himself into the bushes. Crumbs has got those double buffs up, and just as we get excited about it, both junglers decide to back away. Although Crumbs may be sniffing for another try.
Well, you can see Shifter is a great mid laner. He changed his play knowing that his flash is down. He immediately backed way off of the minion wave. He was very aggressive early on, but as soon as he does not have that escape, he completely changes his play style. And that right there just saved his life from the Elise gank.
So well played, at least responding to that ability, but knowing that the flash is not down. If Crumbs is able to roll around to that mid lane, may be able to apply some additional pressure.
I mean, the exact same threat is also there for Skara too. So Skara has to do the exact same thing. Since he burned his flash defensively, both mid laners are going to have to be wary of these very gank-happy junglers.
So in terms of the top lane, we've seen a flick there for a second of Kanan and Shen. Kanan 19 CS to the 11 of Shen, and Kiwi Kid spent a lot of time against Zion Spartan's tower. So that ranged abilities of Kanan really giving him some difficulty in the early game.
It's definitely a little bit harder for the early matchup. He did start with the Cloth 5 though, so he might have even been expecting that 2 versus 1 lane. But since the Kenans nowadays start out with so much AD, it's going to be very effective. Nintendo gets the knockup and taunt!
So the Ignite is down. Kiwi Kid flashes away with the Lightning Rush. Ignite is ticking down to 50. One more tick, not going to be enough, but a flash forward into the Dragonlance will. He gives up the double buffs, kills himself, sacrificing to the tower. Nintendo took way too much damage.
So he doesn't have the double buffs anymore, but at least he didn't give him over to anybody on Dignitas. And they were rewarded with the first blood, so a very, very small gold lead here for Team Coast. And on top of the first blood, it was an assisted kill. So it's definitely much more in favor of Team Coast right now.
So well played by Coast to at least secure that one. Nintendo no longer has that flash available. It is on cooldown for the next couple of minutes as this bottom lane starts to near level 4, level 5. We're getting to that danger zone where crescendo and collateral damage can be stacked on top of one another.
Yeah, and Draven has not been able to amass any sort of lead. He's actually behind QtPie in CS right now. So Daydreamin' really needs to make a play with some sort of hook and be backed up by a Nintendo gank on Jarvan. But like you said, no flash on Jarvan means it'll be much harder for him to pull that gank off. And this pink ward in the bush that everyone knows Jarvan likes to sneak into is going to be a great safe haven here for Dignitas.
While we're on the topic of Jarvan, he did go for that Doran's Blade starts again. He's picked up a second one as well as the boots.
Yeah.
We'll see if it works. He gets pulled in on the Dark Passage. QtPie's held in place. The death sentence was there. Knock-up lands as well, and QtPie gets dropped. Such good play.
That's the exact play that I was calling for Daydreamin' to make. He comboed the Death Sentence plus Dark Passage, hit the backwards flay that everyone talks about being such a hard move to hit. So props to Daydreamin', brings that lane back into line for Curse.
So well played
Coast.
for Coast at the moment. The kill did land in Nintendo Dex's back pocket though, so we'll see how well he can snowball his Jarvan. He was able to do that yesterday, and we'll see if he can do it again today.
And he's actually skipping the Hunter's Machete altogether once again, going with that Doran's start. So he's going to get, oh, here we go, harass on Skara.
Manages to knock him up. That's a lot of initial damage, and if Shifter had been there, you have to feel that his combo would have been enough to kill that Rise.
Just a little bit closer definitely would have been it. But like I was saying, the build from Nintendo is carry-oriented at this point. He's got just straight HP and damage now, so he is going to have a very high impact on his continued ganks. I love these two wards that were put by Dignitas though. Skara has covered one entrance of their jungle from this top side, and KiwiKid just put his ward at the Tribush. So both entrances for Nintendo are covered now, and he'll have to come through a lane if he does want to make a gank on the top side of the map.
His flash is not available, so that makes life a little bit more difficult for that EQ combo. He can't just slide right in. Don't Mash Me's doing a relatively good job of trading down in this bottom lane while I'm in QtPie's support. Patoy is not in lane. Got a little bit of free damage down, but Patoy will be there shortly and be able to throw out some of those heals.
And they are clearing out the pink ward in that bush we just talked about earlier. So the Jarvan EQ combo over into that bush for the sneaky ganks will now be available if they decide to have Nintendo rotate down.
So you see Don't Mash Me is trying to do as much poke as possible really at this stage. He's a little bit behind in CS, but those numbers are starting to balance out. Up in the top lane, which we haven't given too much love to. Zion Spartan still struggling against the Kennen rather. 42 CS to 60. But he's got a lot of HP and a lot of armor to work through.
And KiwiKid definitely on the upper hand there just because he is Kennen and he went with the full AD start. So he was looking for lane bullying early, and that slight CS disadvantage is pretty much to be expected without the intervention of the Dignitas jungler, whereas Nintendo even came up to give an extra kill to Zion, or he got an assist. He came up to come kill KiwiKid, and they weren't able to come back in the lane.
So we'll see how well the follow-up ganks come from Nintendo. He's had, I think, 2 or 3 ganks, and they've all resulted in pretty successful trades or kills at this stage in time. He's going to move himself towards this bottom half of the map, but it has been counter-pink warded. You'll see that Dignitas have their own pink ward in that river bush, so full vision is up and available. Scar in the mid lane just using that ultimate of his to get that wave clear, push the wave back, and try keep Orianna on the back foot. His wave clear on Rise is a little more difficult than Orianna.
And Rise scales up really, really well into the late game. He's already got the tier, and he's going to go for the Catalyst into Rod of Ages next. So he's definitely fine with this. Scar is doing a great job as a Rise. If you go even with Orianna, that is definitely a worthwhile trade.
Especially considering how difficult it was for him in the early game, losing that initial gank, that initial pressure where Shifter really jumped on top of him. So approaching the 10-minute mark, another slow game to kick off day 2 here in week 5. Gold is bang on even, 100 gold apart for 1 kill difference. There's nothing that separates these guys right now.
Yeah, and we always mention how the games are much, the early phase is extended when you have the 2 versus 2 lanes, the standard setups, instead of 2 versus 1 in both side lanes, because the extra pressure on that turret is not there. As the vision ward over this basically Jarvan bush continues, both teams know the importance of that bush in the ganking of both junglers here.
So it is the pink ward war, as sponsored by the Jarvan bush, and we'll keep tabs on that one. 2-1 up in favor of Coast. They managed to put 2 pink wards down. Early vision control. Coast feel confident starting off this dragon, but it looks like Dignitas wants to contest.
Crumb's jungle senses are kicking in here. The dragon's down to half, though.
Cocoon catches out Shifter. The death sentence goes up, but not going to land. The repel manages to dodge it. Crumbs is going to eat a lot of damage. He may be the first one to fall in this fight. Actually, no, as it's Thresh that gets dropped down. In the background, Crumbs finally gets taken down by the spinning axe damage on Draven. They trade 2 for 1, but Dignitas get the dragon.
And that was the level 6 combo there from Dignitas. Even though Patoy, coming with the late crescendo, didn't get it to land there, they're still actually taking some harass at this dragon. But there's no more smite left to contest.
So Zion Spartan's just basically going to be bullied away, strong-armed out of that pit. A very good fight for Dignitas, and it was one that they committed to from 2 different sides. It was a pincer movement that doesn't always work out, but they made it stick.
Well, Skara and Crumbs did a great job of dodging that shockwave. They were able to avoid it, and the repel bought them enough time for the duo lane bottom to come up and join the fight.
So well played there. First dragon of the game is dropped down. Will be respawning in the not too distant future. That now puts Dignitas with a sizable gold lead right now. Not too many people have backed off and spent the money. Catalyst the Protector with Rise, needlessly large rod for Cannon. So he'll be working towards that Zhonya's Hourglass, like we've seen from so many Cannons these days.
And Zion is doing a good job trying to catch back up here in the top lane. No Stand United going to be available for a while, though, so he'll basically be on that just top lane island all by himself.
We do see him doing the best that he can to survive. Double null magic mantles, plus that Giant's belt. So, you know, they're most likely a Merc Treads or a Wit's End, as we've been seeing all the time. It's going to be worked on. Crumbs with some deep wards down in and around this river area. Going to try to give them some vision. So if Nintendo does decide to apply any pressure to this mid lane, he's got to walk through a good number of wards to actually make it there.
Yeah, the pink ward line here for Coast is looking really strong in the bottom lane. Daydreamin does not want to give up that vision control, and they might look to make something happen because a lane gank from Jarvan coming in and sitting in the bushes is covered by pink wards here, so the Dignitas will have no idea.
It's interesting to see all of the effort and resources that have been invested on those pink wards without Nintendo really making efforts on that bottom lane at all. They've had vision for a long time as Kiwi Kid is going to find Shifter, puts a bit of damage down, throws out the Lightning Shuriken with his red buff up as well and applies pressure.
So even though Kiwi Kid is winning this top lane, he's not able to gain much anywhere else on the map from it. The roam down middle, pretty much fruitless right there, and it's not going to award them any advantage.
That has actually allowed Zion Spartan time to catch back up in those creep numbers. So what was a 20-25 CS points difference at some point is now only 15, although to be fair, he is farming a very big way.
So they thought that they have regained control of the Jarvan bush here with this extra pink ward they put down, but since there were 2 other ones previously put down by Daydream, and they know that Crumbs is sitting in this bush. They pinged him out already, and Nintendo has joined the party too, so we may finally see some action break out down here.
So Demacian Standard,
or not.
Demacian Standard gets dropped. It lands on the Spider's head. And
warning shots fired.
He's going to know exactly what's up. Reginald was freaking out when the Spider dropped on him. Same happens in the reverse if you drop something on a Spider.
And our 3rd round of buff spawning now. This blue buff going to be given over to Shifter. Crumbs coming in a little bit late for that steal. They're really hoping to catch someone out running by themselves over to the mid lane, but the ward doesn't see anything. And again, a fruitless maneuver here from the jungler.
It's just a very slow-paced game. They're trying to find opportunities, trying to find doors that have been left open or windows that weren't closed properly, and they just simply cannot get that window of opportunity that either team is looking for right
because
now.
Both of the teams are focusing so heavily on the bottom lane, but each support are spending tons of money on these wards that the vision is just too extensive for them to actually make a move.
So the first tower of the game does fall. It is in the top lane, of course. Kiwi Kid with that ranged cannon, being able to make Zion Spartan's life difficult. He gets rune prisoned up, eats an overload for his troubles, flashes away before Kiwi Kid can get in range for the Maelstrom.
So the cannon there coming into effect, and they do gain the global gold. That was the extra effect he was looking for somewhere else on the map. Awards everybody else on his team extra gold and experience.
So one of the things that's working in Dignitas' favor with the slower pace of the game, mechanically speaking, they seem to be just somewhat better than their opponents. They're winning in the top lane CS, winning in the jungle, winning in the bottom lane, and obviously if you can farm yourself to those bigger items sooner, you're going to be in a very good position when that first team fight hits.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the laning phase, definitely in Dignitas' favor, as we can see by the numbers here. But once we get to the team fight, it's really going to be the execution of their AoE combination that they want to pull off. The next flash crescendo from Patoy has to hit people. He needs to lock them in place for the follow-up from Kiwi Kid and Cutie Pie, because that combo will just obliterate multiple members of Team Coast.
So Team Coast, on the other hand, they'll be hoping to lock up multiple members with that Shockwave and Shadow Dash Taunt from Shen. We'll see if they get the opportunity right now. Members of Dignitas are roaming to this bottom lane. It definitely appears that both of these teams really want to kill their opponent's carries. Pink Ward goes down. I'm going to try to take out that wall, but they're aware it's there, which means that Skara and Kiwi Kid, they know what's up.
It's interesting that Dignitas is putting so much focus on the bottom lane here and clearing out all these wards when there's no tower top for Shen to hide behind anymore, and Shen's the one with the global. A lot of the times you want to go to the source of the global instead of going somewhere else on the map.
So the tower is going to get dropped down. One more hit will be enough. Cutie Pie should take down. In fact, Skara gets the last hit. Even though Cutie Pie gets hit by that death sentence, there's no engagement from Coast. They realized they were outnumbered and outgunned, and they didn't want to rely on Stand United to save them.
And Coast slowly losing more territory as they hesitate to pull the trigger on that Stand United.
So they're 2 towers down. They're a dragon down as well. With that tower falling, you have to feel that Dignitas may want to apply pressure on the dragon, which is about to respawn. You can see that Cutie Pie and Patoy are already in position to pull this one out the second it spawns.
And Zion definitely knows that they want to do this dragon. He's going to try and head back top to split push while this happens, but Dignitas are not going to waste any time, and they've brought down all 5 members. They'll be looking for the AoE combo.
So we see right there comes the slicing maelstrom. Stand United gets used. It doesn't manage to land. The Shockwave pulls too, but that's a great crescendo. Locking up Daydreaming, locking up Don't Mash Me, and he gets mashed into the ground. 3 kills instantaneously for Dignitas.
The power of Graves' burst right there. Kennen, Ulti, and Graves were both just used on single target, but they bursted him down so fast, Shen didn't get to join the fight. So it was effectively denying one of the members of Coast coming down, and an easy pickup there for Dignitas as they are just slowly rolling this game to the late game.
Skara's got big smiles on his face right now. You have to feel he's confident and happy with his team's play. They haven't mispositioned themselves. They've only lost a couple of kills here and there. And he's sitting 0 kills, 0 assists, 0 kills, 0 deaths, 5 assists right now. A little bit of CS behind Orianna, but that is to be expected in that matchup.
All going according to plan for Skara and friends here. The Rise definitely is okay with being behind a little bit of CS here because he has both of his stacking items. So he's gaining power just as time goes on. Every second he is stacking up and just working towards becoming that late game beast. What we'll have to look for now is Skara going to go with that popular Korean build where he gets the Spirit Visage?
As Kiwi Kid gets taunted up in the top lane, Ignite is down. Zion Spartan wants this fight. He does have that Wit's End available. He does not have Flash though. Keep an eye on his cooldowns. Lightning rushes up and Kiwi Kid gets away safely.
Kiwi Kid also holds on to his very valuable Flash cooldown there. So he will actually have the Flash Maelstrom for the next team fight. Very good discipline from him there, not to blow too many cooldowns to get away.
Cocoon lands onto Shifter. He's going to be able to get away safely though. Command Protect comes up, as well as that very threatening Thresh. You don't want to engage through the box. It is very, very powerful. Cutie Pie has been able to steal away that blue buff. The cooldown is very fresh, so a denied resource from Coast.
And Cutie Pie is going for that shotgun approach that I love when I play AD carry. You just get massive amounts of AD from your Bloodthirster, and then on top of that, his first auto attack for the team fight is going to have that lightning charge from his static Shiv, so he has even more burst damage than Graves usually has. So he's just looking to blow someone up right at the beginning.
Yeah, it makes that combo of Sona's Crescendo plus Power Chord even scarier up front. members of Dignitas have started to sort of split up across the map. Cutie Pie is going basically toe-to-toe with Don't Mash Me under the tower, while the rest of the team is trying to fend off in the middle. Scar has found Zion Spartan. They're going to trade back and forth. Scar just pops his ultimate and basically runs away.
Yeah, you get some extra move speed with that, along with the spell vamp. Very low cooldown as well, so it's okay to just pop that one at a moment's notice as soon as you see the enemy. Not a big deal there for Scar, as he's going to try and shove out the lane. And Dignitas actually are hitting a nice threshold here where they can group up and force another team fight. The next objective that they would be looking towards is this pivotal middle turret.
So they've got the outer turrets down both in the top and the bottom lane, and you can see how it's working in their favor. The amount of vision that Dignitas has on the map right now, on the deep side of the red jungle for Coast, on the blue side jungle for Coast, Dignitas are fully aware of every single movement of their opponents.
The vision of the opponent's buffs plus the availability of their own buffs means that a double buff Cutie Pie plus a blue buff Scara could be coming to this next team fight. And that means that they will not only have the upper hand in burst damage, but also sustain damage.
So right now, Crumbs has found Intendude, gonna carry on chasing. Put the spike down, the cocoon lands out. Kiwi Kid's been pulled forward, he's got his Zhonya's available, he pops the Maelstrom down. Zonya's up, the first one to fall is Intendude. The shockwave whiffs, hits absolutely no one. Up in the top, Shen has been able to taunt up Crumbs. The pressure is on as Don't Mash Me is trying to steal away the red buff. He doesn't want this objective to go missing. He now starts to back away safely. Cocoon should be available for Crumbs shortly as the crescendo locks up too. Now Daydreaming forced to flash away to safety as Zion Spartan taunts and flashes. He loses his life in reply. Patoy's going to be happy with going down because of how successful that team fight was.
You do have to be very careful about what you hook in when you're playing these champions, as Kiwi Kid gets assassinated by Shifter.
Not over yet as Shifter takes so much damage and just gets bursted down from I'm a Cutie Pie. Good play from Shifter to at least pick up a kill, but he lost his own life in reply and now cannot defend this tower.
Exactly, that's going to give up their pressure on this mid turret, and Don't Mash Me has to be careful himself because Scar is with a blue buff and full life right now. They can even combo him down, so he can't defend that turret.
So they're able to pick up that very important mid tower which you were talking about. It's what Dignitas, they had their eyes on the prize. And luckily the timing works out quite nicely because with 1 minute and 20 seconds on Dragon, it'll buy them time to recall, heal, shop, and position themselves to challenge.
And you can tell how confident Scar is feeling right now. He's just straight up upgraded his tier into that Archangel's staff already. So it'll be charging much faster right now because of the upgrade, and it's almost full already. Will be a Seraph's Embrace in the next 2 minutes.
So we'll see how quickly Scara can upgrade that and where he's going to go with his itemization. There's a fair amount of mixed damage coming across the board from his opponents, so a number of options available to him. Dragon will be up in 45 seconds, and you have to think that Dignitas, with the control they've had over the Dragons thus far, will want to continue doing the same throughout the match.
And for Coast, the answer is going to be a split pushing Zion Spartan, and they will do their best to get vision of the Dragon area and try and delay Dignitas. But they have to be very, very careful of being caught out because there is the flash snare available from Rise as well as the cocoons from Crumbs that could catch any member of Coast off.
Yeah, any member of Dignitas has the ability to set something up, maybe with the exception of Graves in that regard. We'll see if Patoy can continue landing those crescendos. They haven't been massive multi-man crescendos, but 2-3 targets for most of the time, Scosta, and it's helping them result in those team fight wins. And at the very least, when Dignitas has a positional advantage, it works in their favor. Right now, Daydreaming, he's going to get caught up by the cocoon. Volatile Spiderlings there, but Dignitas not 100% confident to engage.
Very, very good there for Daydreaming, able to get out with his life, but now he's too low to go even put wards around that dragon, and Coast are going to have to give up another objective without even getting an advantage from Zion going top versus Kiwi Kid. They can't use that Stand United to turn a 4 vs 5.
So that was very patient play from Dignitas, not engaging on the kill, realizing they could take the objective safely by denying that vision. Right now, they are now getting even deeper wards in between the wall and the tree line, the back of the base. Blue buff is spawned. The previous one was stolen by Cutie Pie. This one will be donated to Scara.
And now Cutie Pie does get hooked in.
So we do see he gets pulled forward, but nobody's going to engage in that one. You can see Don't Mash Me. He so badly wanted to go in, so badly wanted the kill. but unfortunately didn't really have the support or the numbers advantage to make that work. Zion Spartan and Kiwi Kid still bashing heads in that top lane.
So right now, Coast are looking for another grab onto Cutie Pie that they can actually go in on and have Zion stand united with them to create a 5 versus 4 situation where the AD carry's already out of position, because that is one of the only ways that they can actually turn one of the team fights.
Crumbs right now is trying to set something up over to the side, but he stood right on top of a Team Coast ward, so they're going to be fully aware of his position, fully aware of what's happening. Daydream is going to scare him away with that death sentence, signifying that they've caught up. Don't mash me. Stand United is being channeled, but Shen's not going to be able to arrive. Cutie Pie took a lot of damage in that trade, but exactly as predicted, they caught the AD carry out of position, bursted him down. Now they have a numbers advantage.
There's the reason Cutie Pie is focusing so much on burst, is because they can take out someone before Shen even joins the party. Even the flash crescendo was enough right there, and now Dignitas have free reign over the secondary turrets.
So they get the mid one for free. Down in the bottom lane, there's a minion wave pushing up. They should be able to pick this one up as well. And this is going to be tower number 5, but it's not over. As you can see, Kiwi Kid, he's coming in, slicing Maelstrom is down. They managed to ruin Prison Nintendo'd in place, but decide not to follow in. There was no flash for Kiwi Kid.
Stand United and Shockwave are both down right now. Coast cannot continue to fight, so Dignitas, another 2 turrets down, and they have complete control of this game right now. They have to be wary of the Baron, though, because they've not had very good luck where that is concerned.
So, Team Coast, they will be able to pick up that tower in the top lane. It did just drop down thanks to the last hit by a minion, and we've seen how elated Dignitas was yesterday when they secured the Baron.
Yeah.
Truthfully, they were more excited they got a Baron without cost than about winning the game.
They really don't even have to go for the Baron either. As long as they ward up, and they don't allow Coast to get a sneaky over-the-wall Baron, which we've seen Threshes enable their teams to do, Dignitas can continue to push in and just count on their massive AoE damage and burst to take someone out.
So we see Crumbs is thinking about going in for the fight. They steal away that red buff. He did use his smite to close that one out. And you can see by the positioning of Coast, they dropped that Demacian standard in the Baron pit for vision. Coast are thinking, we need to be afraid of that Baron pit.
Exactly. The other thing that Dignitas can do is lure Coast over to this Baron area and force Coast to group up, because if Coast are standing next to each other, then they will get the biggest bang for their buck out of this combinations.
Right now, Crumbs and Cutie Pie, they throw out the cocoon, but just shy of Zion Spartan. Very beefy Zion as well, with that Wit's End, with that Sunfire Cape. Maybe not 100 to 0 burst potential from an Elise Graves just yet.
Zion would probably be the only one they can't do that to, and they actually don't decide to go for it. Even if that cocoon had landed, probably not going to go all in on him. Just look for easy damage. And Dignitas, they are just going to avoid the Baron. They don't want to make any mistakes that will cost them the game at this point, and they can easily just rotate up to this top turret. It will be very hard for Coast to defend this one.
Yeah, and that tower drops so quickly. Cutie Pie and Graves, they've gone forward, they've caught out Nintendo'd. He's forced to flash away. That Room Prison wasn't enough time for them to shut him down, but with all the damage that's been put on him, you've got to feel that Dignitas want to find an opportunity.
And that flash right there was just because Nintendo'd didn't respect the movement speed of Rise when he pops that ultimate. The zoning that you give each champion depends on the player's feel of the range and the movement speed that champion has. Inherently, Nintendo a little bit underestimating Rise right there, and he does burn down his flash for nothing.
So Team Coast were able to recall, heal up a little bit. Kiwi Kid's been caught just a tad. That's a lot of free damage onto him. Spinning X plus attack and dissonance shreds his HP down.
Just a tad.
It's gonna give
that
Coast,
one's gonna hurt.
Give Coast a little breath of hope.
So if they're able to chunk out a high priority target like Kiwi Kid before the fight starts, then that opens up the opportunity for a team fight where Kiwi Kid is so low at the beginning, he doesn't have enough time to hit the Zanyas in the middle of the team. If Coast are able to lock him up with any sort of CC, they could just burst him down and turn that around.
So we'll see if they can land another good death sentence or shockwave. Maybe onto Kiwi Kid, could work in their favor. Cutie Pie's gone back. In terms of the items, we do see that Void Staff completed for Skara, as you're talking about, very aggressive early game build. Cutie Pie, he's secured himself a Giant's Belt as well as a pickaxe to go with his Last Whisper, Static Shiv, and Bloodthirster, and he is a long way ahead of Don't Mash Me in terms of items.
That Graves burst damage right now is so fearsome. He's got the 3 main items that you look for with the Bloodthirster, Last Whisper, and Static Shiv to combo on top of it. And Dignitas are just taking their time with this one. They have complete control of the entire map that they can just take any objective that they want. As you can see, grabbing up the blue buffs, Dragon's already gone. The only one they don't want to go after is that aforementioned Baron.
So we'll see right now, minion wave up. They get a couple of auto attacks down onto the tower, but it's not Cutie Pie hitting it. It's just a couple of those little venomous attacks from Crumbs, and it's not doing the most damage.
And if this was Cloud9, you know what would be going on in their vent is just, can we dive, can we dive, can we dive, can we dive? Because Dignitas right now can dive. They have ridiculous amount of damage. They could easily jump in onto Coast and blow them up even under a turret. But they're playing such a safe game because they are not at the top of the standings. They have a lot to lose with every game, and they're playing it very, very carefully.
Yeah, sitting in the middle of that block, there's so many members or so many teams that could potentially challenge. Every win is so important right now. 4th Dragon of the game picked up for Dignitas at the 30-minute mark. Gives them that 11,000 gold lead. They have a 6 towers to 1 advantage, 11 kills to 5 advantage, and basically every single metric that is possible is in their favor. They're out farming for the most part if you add all the totals, and there's a small glimmer of hope that Shifter's got a minor 20 CS lead over his opponents.
Well, they are mining ridiculous amounts of gold. They're all getting very rich here on Dignitas, but the drawbacks of playing so safe is that as the game extends into the later phase, Team Coast, they comparatively are catching up, because if you keep the same amount of gold lead, then the team that's behind is going to start catching up right now, and they're just giving Coast hope by not cracking into the base, not going for a decisive dive, and making use of their combo here. They finally just wait for some pick out here though, and Nintendo is going to give him a kill.
Yes, that's just popped. Insta-pop. Slicing Maelstrom is there. Collateral damage plus Buckshot just shreds him down. They now have a numbers advantage. You have to feel that this is the signal for Dignitas to attack the towers.
Now is when you make that call for the dive, because they've got the numbers advantage and the power.
Take a look at Skara. He's gone so deep. He's on Don't Mash Me. Don't Mash Me is going to go down. That's 1 versus 3. Skara was able to pick it up. The lifesteal is immense. The last tower hit will drop him down, however. They pick up 4 kills in total after that pick in the top lane. Inhibitor turret is down. They're onto the inhibitor. They may want to try finish.
Very decisive win right there for Dignitas. Their patience paid off with that Nintendo kill up top, and then they immediately capitalized on it going into the base.
So the taunt comes across them. Zion Spartan's going to delay this at least a couple of seconds, buying time for Nintendo to move into position. Feint is up as Kiwi Kid and Crumbs are doing the best they can to shut down this tower. Another good taunt lands across Cutie Pie. Nexus tower is down. Cutie Pie is literally ignoring them. He flashes away, jumps on the Nexus. This is a victory for Dignitas, evening up the score 7-7, along with Coast going 7-7 as well.
Congratulations to Dignitas. Very calmly played game right there, taking their advantage and pushing all the lanes. They took every single outer turret before venturing into the base.
And Skara, we're talking about venturing in the base, he just went ultimate man mode. He went through 3 champions directly onto Don't Mash Me.
He went extremely deep right there on the Safari through Coast base, and it paid off for them. They did do it very safe, because they waited even for a pick on top of all the gold advantages that they had before going for that dive. But you can't blame them right there. They come out with the W, secure the win.
Yeah, perfect play from Dignitas. They won their lanes, they won the mid game, they controlled the objectives, they controlled vision. And it was just a matter of time. You were talking about how they were not going to tower dive unless they had a pick, unless they had a numbers advantage. And the moment Nintendo was just 3 centimeters overextended, he got shut down.
You have to start defensively warding your own base at this point. Basically, throughout the game, you always need a ward line. And depending on how much you're losing, your ward line has to retreat closer and closer to your base. He ventured out too far and bit the dust.
Yeah, unfortunately. All right, guys, we got to take a short break. But when we return, Dignitas' Patoy will join us to talk about their dominating performance. And then Cloud9 takes on Velocity Esports in our 3rd match of the day. The North American League Championship Series will be right back after these messages.